Welcome to Real Talk at the Round Table with Coach William Forcum, Coach David Smith. We've got a special guest on here as well, Coach Susan Tapper. Coach Susan Tapper. Uh, you know, we are about to have a beautiful, wonderful, elegant conversation with each other, and you guys are privileged to join in. We want to encourage you to, in fact, join in. Okay, fill out that comment section. We're gonna open the mics for questions. 30 minutes in. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through tonight's episode. David.
Yeah, and it's just great. We're gonna be on fire because anytime we open up and just allow whatever to happen, it does happen if we've seen on this channel. So we definitely like to make a warm welcome and thank you, Susan, for taking time out of your busy day to come here. And I'm excited to find out the power a coach has on actors and actresses.
Thank you for inviting me. I will start by saying that I have a coach and I am an actor, so I can say with all confidence how amazing it's been for me as an actor to have a coach. Okay. So now, years ago, I just wouldn't even see myself being coached, right? I wouldn't. Why is that? Because I had some very limiting thoughts, right? So my whole journey to being coached has to do with first of all, finances, with my desire to be able to manage my own finances better, right? For years and years, it was kind of a wreck, okay? And I would chalk that up to I'm a creative person. I'm not a numbers person. And creative people, it just, the money, the finances, the numbers, they might go a little wonky, right? So I'm not alone, and I was not alone in that thought. I don't believe that anymore. That's a myth. And the whole thing about being a starving artist is a myth, right? So, but I do know that it's a common thought among people like that because I lived in New York City for a long time, and my friends were basically all either actors, dancers, musicians, fine artists, that kind of people. And we just, you'd hear that echoing unless somebody became really successful in their craft, and then, oh, you just hire someone to do your business, your bookkeeping, or a lawyer, or accountants, this kind of stuff. But never, the thought was we can't, take any kind of dominion or any kind of authority over our financial needs. So that's where the journey started for me, with breaking down that erroneous belief and opening my mind to, well, maybe I can learn how to handle my money better. I actually better learn how to handle my money better, because I ain't going to have any money if I keep going the way I'm going. I'm going to live in poverty. And I didn't really want to be a starving artist anymore. That's only romantic, I think, when you're quite young. So I started to learn about that myself. And then I started to learn that there were coaches out there that could help push things along even more. And it's not the bookkeeping side of it, it's the thing about having goals, right? And accomplishing them. So, how a creative person, whether it's an actor or a musician or um, a dancer, whoever, how they could benefit from coaching is pretty obvious to me, because when you sit with a coach, you're talking and you're getting to know each other, and you're bearing what you really believe. You're speaking about yourself, and your core beliefs are going to come out. So, well, for me, it was the core like beliefs of holding myself back came out, all the self-doubt, lack of commitment, lack of direction, lack of goals, all that stuff came out. And my coach, am I allowed to say who my coach is?
Sure, why not?
Oh, okay. My coach is David. My coach is David Smith. So like immediately I was like, oh my God, he was catching everything I was saying. Like, why'd you say that? Not in a confrontational way, but he was catching all, I would call it the mind crap that was in my head, you know, all the doubt, all the, oh, maybe, kind of, the very non committal, airy fairy, just sort of floating off into the ether kind of thinking, not a lack of grounding, right? And I could really hear him, you know? So I was like, oh, brother. I thought I like to think of myself as, oh, I'm confident, lightning for me to have somebody catch me like that. Like, what? What do you mean? What do I mean by that? It's like, I'm trying, I'm attempting, I'm wishing. And he made it very clear to me in a very, gentle, kind, you know, wonderful way. Like, we're not going to try, attempt, or wish anything anymore. We're going to do things. I was like, what? Really? You know, we're not going to be out there in the wishy-washy land. We're going to come, we're going to come down to Earth. We're going to land the spaceship. Okay. And we're going to do things. So I was like, what? You know? So I started to learn how to do things, how to make a plan, how to really ask myself, what kind of direction do I want to go in? So for me, like I've been and I'm also a coach. I've been working with David for about a year, okay? And the people around me noticed a change. They noticed just me being more decisive, me getting more things done. And even when I go to projects, like when I go work on a film or I work on a TV show, like I don't walk in there with like, oh my gosh, I hope hope they like me. I walk in like I know what I'm doing. I'm not the principal actor on these projects, but I am a professional actor on these projects. And I probably will be auditioning for principal work very soon. Again, it's been a long time. But it comes from having one's confidence built up. So even though somebody might be very creative, like, well, here's another thing I want to say about creativity. I used to think, the creative people are in the arts and entertainment. Creative people are, that's not true. I mean, it is true, but there's creative people all over. There are creative doctors, dentists, mechanics, any, in every walk of life, there's creativity. So that was a major thing for me to see because I'm also a coach. So I see my creativity in that area too, right? It's
Speaking
having,
of that, you kind of like touched on something. You're an actor, actress. You're also a coach. So you've been on both sides of the spectrum.
mhm.
And so um, it kind of makes you aware a little bit more because, some people are just coaches and they coach pretty much anybody. And then some people are just actors and actresses, and they can act in anything. But then when you put the two of them together, that's just mind blowing. That's like
Mm-hmm.
the sheep, where, God says that, you can go in the midst of your enemies, right? And you won't even have to worry about anything. Even though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil. The
Mm-hmm.
enemy prepares the table before you, right? Even though you're there, we know we're there. We can handle it. And that's what I see with you.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I want to throw in a little nugget here. As you were talking about creativity, my mind goes back to our training, FCMT, the training that we all three took part in, and that client creation series. So us coaches specifically, like it's our job to create clients, to create clients. Like they don't just flock to us and say, "Hey, can I sign up for coaching?" Like, no, we've got nurturing campaigns, email campaigns. We talk to people face to face, engage people in the grocery store as we yell at the bananas, right, David? Like anything that's going to draw people in, so that we can possibly help them and help ourselves, right? Provide. So love it. Um, and it's like again, that's the first nugget. The second nugget is this: our intuitive mind and our like rational mind are consistently in this dance. And it's like, okay, how can I effectively go into my intuitive mind and pull out that creativity and then apply it in real time? How can I do that? You know, and I feel like that's a lot of what we're doing right now. So, oh, and then the third nugget. Thank you. I don't want to load you down. This is the last nugget, so take a breath. It's okay. Uh, you talked about a coach coming in and filling you up with confidence. Said you're not the lead actor, but you are a professional actor. I want you to talk about the difficulties, that narrow road, that tightrope that we all must walk, not just you, but all of us, but from your perspective on walking confidently, but not arrogantly.
Well, I think it's also a faith question too, because in recent years, I have truly believed that my God is my employer. So I'm not going to be sent to work on um, projects that I don't belong in. Okay. And I'm not going to be put under undue stress. Right. So we've seen we see this in the area of stars, right? Stars from time to time, we hear they killed themselves, right? Or they really went wild in drugs, right? And some people go, I know some actors, because they didn't have the knowledge, they did not take care of themselves financially. They may have had very, very big success, right? And I don't think she'll mind me mentioning her right now. There's a very famous actor from the 70s and 80s, even 90s. She still works. Her name is Sally Kirkland. And she was, very successful. And now she's got a GoFundMe to pay for her medical bills, right? And I say, I'm not saying this is her fault. What I have learned from that situation is that when we plan well, we still have to have contingency plans. Well, what if that falls apart? What if that plan A and plan B fall apart? What's plan C, right? So I do believe that, we always have to watch where we're going, what we're thinking. If I think that I'm doing this on my own, or that I'm controlling any success or any progress, I'm on a bad road up here. I'm in a bad neighborhood up here. Um, I'm I do believe that I'm called to be smart, to be as smart as I can, to know when to ask for help of others, to ask others' opinions, and when to follow, sort of a good orderly direction I'm getting from God, just that on its own. So, I hope I'm answering your question. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
it's
I think a huge uh, part of it that you just mentioned was being willing, being open to listen to others and know that that our God uses others and their perspectives to speak life into us. Or as senior coach Lisa Barber says, instead of giving us constructive criticism, encouraging feedback. Love that.
Mhm,
It's an
mhm,
effective way to say, hey, I see this in you. It's a blind spot. I don't think you're aware of it, and I just want to encourage you in this area, and getting sharpening and building like that. Does that sound so much better than constructive criticism? I just feel like we get too much criticism.
mhm. Yep,
Well,
yep. Yeah, I think we always, when we're a lot of times when, we're young, we don't even know what an ego is,
hmm.
right? We don't even know. Like I didn't know. I didn't know that I had an ego that was out of control, you know.
If you're talking about me right now, like I am my ego. What are you talking about? Yeah.
And that's always going to get us in trouble, you know. Well, you don't have to be young for that either. You can be older too. But once I think well, here's the thing about being coached. Let me go back to that. If I'm coachable, that means that I'm able to listen to feedback. I'm able to listen to suggestions. I might even take some of the suggestions. I might be directable, right? And I might be open to seeing things from a very different angle, right? When I'm not coachable, so to speak, when I'm shut down, my mind is closed, I don't want anybody's input, I'm just, barreling along my way, which is the way I did it when I was younger. And I didn't get as good results from that as I had wanted. It's very lonely, number one. And then when things don't go well, I think that it's okay to really hate on myself, really put myself down. That's what I used to do. Put myself down, be embarrassed, be ashamed, all this stuff. And the thing about coaching, being a coach and being coachable, is that all of that it's uselessness. All that uselessness goes out the window. It just has to go away. And let's usher in really constructive thinking, talking, being. It's completely different. Completely different. Now, I know that I was coachable years ago, but only in the acting studio, right? In an acting class, right? If I like the teacher, that teacher's gonna, I'm gonna be like their pet, you know. But outside of that, when people say, "Oh, you should do this. This is the road you should go on." Oh, I don't know about that. I wanted to run the show myself, and that really was not very fruitful. So, if I had the mind that I have today, if I could go back, I would listen to the people that kept saying the same thing to me of where I should go for the work, right?
And I like how you pointed out different perspectives. It kind of reminds me of a movie, Vantage Point. The same action that happened, but from different people's perspectives. They told a different story. I believe in the story there was four different viewpoints of the same issue. But looking at the different people, you see a whole different light. And a lot of times we see things one way. We always do, right? We see it our way. It's my way or the highway. But then when we take somebody that has an outside view, they're looking at the whole picture from a different angle. And then they're able to share that angle with us, giving us a different vantage point. And so the more vantage points we get, the bigger perspective we have. Well, we're in here, we're in a dispute, we're fighting, we're arguing, whatever. I have my view, you have your view. Susan comes in and she's an outsider. She can see the bigger picture. And I hate to admit it, but only half of my ways were right. But half of your ways were right. And if we combine them, we actually get a better vantage point. We need an outside source to be able to see that. Now, if she is part of it, and we have three different arguments, we need a fourth person outside that is not inside that can see the big picture. Then each one of us only has a third that's correct. So I love how you made that point,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I want to add this in there too. It's like, and the person that's coming in is like looking out. It doesn't even necessarily need to be this, you know, sage of knowledge, like this very intelligent person. I mean, it would help, but not necessarily has to be. And I'll tell you why. Because just like you said, David, you said somebody that's coming in and they're not engulfed in what we're discussing. Like they're not spending their time, they're not a part of it. They're able to kind of see objectively. And I think that's the key. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. I've also often gotten some of my best, or I would say even the best, feedback and guidance from people that were not, well, I don't think I ever asked an actor what they thought. It's always been asking other people. No offense, actors, but there's a really funny line from a movie. I can't remember the movie, but
There's
somebody
so
said,
much
"Oh,
competition there with your fellow actors and actresses. I could see why there would be like a hesitancy to ask.
yeah, there's competition." But this line from a movie, I'm gonna have to look up the movie that it came from. Somebody said, "Well, I asked all the actors what they thought." And then the director in this movie said, "Well, that's like asking a bunch of farm animals what they thought."
Wow,
It
that's
was
a
really
low blow there.
insulting and it's terrible. So I'm gonna drop that. But yeah, I frequently have gotten, I mean, I've just all the time, I would say, all the time gotten the most helpful feedback from people that were in very different directions than I was. Very different directions, you know. So and I think the thing about coaching, like David isn't an my acting coach, you know. He's my coach. So I feel like it's his job with whatever subject I might be bringing to him to be that person that really hears what I'm saying, and he's got a wealth of experience coaching people from all kinds of walks of life, right? I don't have to have a acting coach. That would be, to me, that would be like, a technique coach. That's something different. But it's a life coach, all the things that come up through life, which could be, career, um, a career question, could be a finance question, could be an interpersonal question, you know. So
What'd you say? I'm just kidding. But yeah, and you know, I love how you brought that in because I tell people that all the time. Sometimes the famous actors and actresses and stuff like that, they might have three, four coaches, because they'll have a fitness coach so they can be better fit. They'll have a food coach, a wellness coach, so they eat properly. They have different coaches, all based so that they have everything covered. Because I don't want to get career advice from a fitness coach. Yes, they're going to be able to get me fit, but they may not have the best advice um, for developing my career.
Yeah.
I love how you brought that in.
Mhm. Yeah.
And speaking of which, we've got quite a few good people in the room. I thank you each and every person for being here. Um, I think for the first time, or I will say at least for the first time that's been mentioned, we have somebody here from Indonesia.
Cool.
So I think you might be the furthest person listening to our podcast, which is awesome. Um, and so at this time, we are opening up to questions. Anybody in the chat room, if you guys have any questions, post them on, and we will definitely get to those questions. But thank you each person for coming here. We have one of our longtime guests that's always here. We love her every single time we see her, Rosemary. Thank you for being here, and for all the many people that's here. So thank you. And if you have any questions, pop them in. Other than that, we're just going to continue talking because the three of us, we could talk for years, but we don't have that to talk today. We're only here for an hour.
Only an
So,
hour. Yeah,
yep.
only an hour. And I want to throw something out there that we were discussing before the podcast. It was 20 minutes before, and we all prayed together. It was amazing. But also, what came up was this diet, this carnivorous diet. For all of you who are familiar with Jordan Peterson's work and his family there, they were suffering and battling a lot of different health ailments, trying this diet, that diet, this medicine, that medicine, this procedure, that procedure, and nothing was working. And Jordan, he was chronically ill. But then everything changed when he implemented this carnivorous diet. And turns out we've got somebody here right now that's also on this diet, and she's experiencing amazing changes. I just want you to, I want to prepare this platform here for you to talk for a few minutes about what this has done for you, Susan.
Yeah, well, I certainly didn't expect to be talking about this tonight, but I will since it's welcome. Um, I know, well, I'll just say first, I used to be a vegan. I was also a vegetarian at different points in my life. I was a pescatarian. I used to only eat fish. That was the only flesh that I would eat. And what drove me to try the carnivore diet was literally, I heard Jordan Peterson and his daughter, and I thought to myself, why would they say such a crazy thing? Why would they want to ruin their credibility and their careers by saying all they eat is meat? It sounds cuckoo, right? So, for about a year, I would listen to different videos on YouTube of all these different people curing all these different things, emotional, physical, really like wild health changes, health improvements. And I would think it's interesting. So, but what I was discovering in myself is over the years, I've really had a problem with like eating processed foods. I started eating a lot of ice cream and sugary things after my husband died in 2014. And I thought, well, I'm just grieving. I'm allowed to, have comfort food. But then I found out that I really couldn't stop. And I was really becoming a problem. So I got kind of fed up with myself last year. And I said, well, I'm going to try carnivore for a week. And then after 7 days of having such mental clarity, I was like, I think I'll go for 10 days. I think I'll go 14 days. I'm going for a month. then I'm going for 3 months, right? And I found, I mean, that's actually how that was, I'm just telling you the truth. That was the door that opened me up to being coached
Mm.
by David. And I
Wow.
said that to David, right? David, you remember that, right?
Wow. So you achieved such clarity that,
Mhm.
like, from the carnivorous diet, that you reached out to David for coaching. Had it not been,
Oh, I never would have done it. Never would have done it. Never would have done it. I would have thought about it
mm,
for a few years, like a lot of things. Like even when I first went into the thought of, oh, maybe I should coach, right? That was in 2021. That started back then. And very little happened. I went to classes for financial coach master training, but I couldn't see myself doing anything about it. Like I just, sort of in this like neutral zone, right? Now, I'm not telling anyone they should go on the carnivore diet. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying what happened to me.
sure.
I was the salad queen for real. But when I removed all the carbs, all the sugar, all the processed food, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening to my brain? It's like I'm getting a brain transplant. That's when I was like, you know what? I think I will call this financial and personal coach. I'll have a consultation, I'll check it out, right? And then I just felt myself just becoming more activated, totally more activated, right? And I kept learning by listening to other people online on YouTube talk about what was happening to them because they were eating so much more fat. Basically, you're eating a lot of animal fat, and that the brain was actually starved of the fat. That the brain is fat, is
Mm,
made of fat, needs fat. Anyway,
right. Exactly.
so that's what really pushed me over the edge, and then I just saw myself taking actions in so many areas of my life. I saw my confidence growing. So I was like, "Oh, brother, for me, just for me, that kind of eating plus having a coach," I was like, "Boo boo," um, I'm living a different life, a life that I like,
I
and
love it. Being that you're on such
fear.
a high right now, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, Rosemary, you met Rosemary at enrichment,
Yep.
and she loves you. You are a delightful individual, and she enjoyed speaking to you.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, you shared with her a testimony about a loss after the loss of your husband, and how you redeemed, how God redeemed your life. And Rosemary thinks that would be an awesome testimony for this podcast, so a lot of people would be able to help them.
Hmm. Okay. Maybe we should do that sometime, right? That's a whole nother big chapter. Yeah.
Yep. So another time we will definitely get to that, Rosemary. Thank you for bringing it up, and she does remember you.
I
She
remember her
loves
too.
you.
I remember her too. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it was part of my journey was seeing like, oh, I'm just like all this crappy food that I'm eating has been a reaction to my grief. And and that is a replacement for God, whether it's drugs, booze, gambling, some people are into porn, food, whatever it is, comfort. No, my comfort has to come from on high, not
Hallelujah.
from popcorn and candy bars. You know, I never even had a Snickers bar until about 3 years ago. I never ate crap. But that kind of grief drove me to seek relief. And as most of us know, the food supply is filled with chemicals. So
Just
it's not,
speak Just
Good.
think about Snickers' slogan. Snickers
Mm,
satisfies.
mm.
You don't want to be hangry.
Right. Exactly, David. And you're wow, you're Susan right now, you are all over the point that God has been working in and through me about. It's like, how many things have I traded in for God, for a source of comfort, a source of provision, a source of protection? It's idolatry. It's idolatry. And,
Totally.
I didn't see it though until I started to really ask God to be my source of provision, protection, and what was the other one, David? Help me out.
Well, you actually corrected me as well. And so I'm a fat guy. Most people, I mean, when you only see this part above me, you don't think I'm fat. My face is kind of decent. You don't really see it until you actually see my lower part, and then you're like, he's fat.
Sure, you're a handsome guy.
But anyhow, fat guys, we love food. So you know what? I think I'm going to take care of that at the beginning of the year. I'm going to start watching the food.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah, it is for some people an idol. It really wasn't for me until my husband died. Like I never could have imagined that I would start eating some of the things. I mean, I never had a milkshake until about a year ago. And when I said got it in my head that I should have a chocolate milkshake, I was in Florida. I walked into this place with my friend. I said, "You got milkshakes?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, give me the biggest one." Like it was like this big. It was like massive. And my friend's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I've never had a milkshake." Because I just wasn't drawn to sweets when I was a kid. But once that thing like clicked in, of me getting comfort from sugar and crap, I was like out of control. So anyway, the discipline of carnivore and what happened to me and what happens to many people if you discipline yourself to like just keep going, something happens in your body where you really want that. You want the beef. It tastes like I had a brisket this morning for breakfast. It's like it was the first brisket. It tastes fabulous every time. Just like a lion eating a gazelle or some kind of creature out there. They love it every time. They eat the same thing every time, pretty much. And I saw that, I mean, that may sound like really crazy, but I saw that in myself. I was satiated. I could think more clearly.
that's a
And
good
like
word.
I said, I was like, yeah, let me check out this coaching thing. Let me go deeper into the whole Ramsey scene. Like I can do it. I'm not the flake that I thought I was told I was. I don't, the ADD, whatever you want to label it, flaky, spacey, I'm creative, I can't do math. No, that's not true. So many things were not true. And like right now, I did have some salad today. I had a very small piece of bit of salad. I'm not totally 100%, but I would say I'm like 95% carnivore and it's working for me. And I every time I get really clean with it, I find myself like I can do this. I can do that. I don't give a crap about my age. And I'm not going to say my age,
It's just a
but
number. It won't matter.
I'm not a kid. Okay? I remember when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. All right? I remember when he was assassinated.
Well, I tell people I'm only 25.
Okay.
Every year for my birthday, I just have an anniversary to my 25th birthday.
Cool. Oh, I like that. I like that. So anyway, I'm probably droning on a little bit too much about the food, but David, didn't I say to you I wouldn't be here if I wasn't a carnivore?
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, this man must think I'm cuckoo,
And
right? But he
I
doesn't.
also do have to testify. Um,
Uh-huh.
I had the pleasure of getting to go eat with Susan when she came up here for enrichment, and she actually eats that way too.
Yeah.
You know, when they say, "Well, you get this and this and this as well," it's like, "No, I don't need that. This is all I want." You know, she
Yeah, I
didn't
got a
cave in.
steak and I gave you the potato, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't cave in. You were like, "Nope, it comes with it. Nope, I only get the steak."
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
It does for whatever the reason. We all have to find our best way that makes us feel the healthiest. And like I said a few times, I always thought some of the challenges that I've had was my personality. And dizzy was another word that people would call me. You're a little dizzy. I'm not dizzy. I'm not dizzy at all. But I will be if I'm eating cookies and ice cream and binging and all that stuff and finding, whether it's finding comfort, I could find comfort in food and I could also use it as a powerful drug. And I'll just admit that times I want to get high on sugar, you know. So that's a real character defect of mine. And that's when I got to get better at asking God for help because I don't think he's smiling on that one bit.
And
Yeah.
we were talking just before the podcast, and we have a Bible study that we do here on Tuesdays. And Susan, you said noticed my pumpkin pie. Well, every year I have to have me a pumpkin pie. I have to get at least one, and it'll satisfy me all year. But I have to have my pumpkin pie. So I got a nice, huge pumpkin pie. Okay, I ate half of it yesterday. I forgot to get whipped cream, so I ate half of it with no whipped cream. Got whipped cream this morning, and I had the other half. And we were
Right.
talking about that this morning, before the podcast. You were like, "I see that pumpkin pie. It's an addiction.
Oh yeah.
Got to get rid of it."
Oh yeah.
And David, you're all the time challenging our wording. Do you mind if I challenge your wording there?
I know I need to get rid of it, so challenge it.
You said have. I have to have my pumpkin pie.
Hmm.
What about it do you have to have?
Well, I guess, and I hope I don't burn myself. Um, I guess it's the season, okay? The Thanksgiving season, all about bringing things together. There's just something about pumpkin pie is the only pie that I know that kind of gives you that feeling. Matter of fact, I don't know if you noticed Will smelling, the office today. It has a different scent today. Normally I'm burning I do a wax thingy, and I do like berries or different kinds of things. But right now, I'm actually burning pumpkin. So
Mm.
eating pumpkin pie, burning pumpkin, there's just something about the smell, the pumpkin pie, the pumpkin. Matter of fact, I found a pumpkin pie song and I just had to get it. There's just something about it for the season. I don't know. There's just certain things like you got to have a ham. I don't have ham anymore. You got to have turkey. I love turkey, especially deep fried turkey for those that haven't had it. But there's certain things you have to have in the Thanksgiving feast, right?
Yeah. And it sounded like you said you were chasing that feeling, which I totally get. I relate to that. It's the time of the year, it's the season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, what could we substitute that pumpkin pie for to achieve the feeling?
There's only one substitute that I know, and that's going to start January. I'm going to change a lot of the ways I eat. And it starts here. So, yeah, I know.
I'm gonna record right now, not to make it all about me or us, but just so it's on the record. We can go back. You can hold me accountable. I'm gonna do it with you, bro, because I feel like that's something that you need a partner for. As long as you're open to that.
I don't know if you are ready for what I'm going to do.
Say something like that. Tell me.
So, in our Bible study, we have a gentleman. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to share it or not, but we have a gentleman. And with his particular job, he has a lot of different trainings, a lot of different things that he does. And there's a certain kind of a fast that they do. The fast that they do is a 30-day fast and it resets your whole body. Now, when I do a fast, I don't do it for any other reason but to get more into the Word. Based on the Word, the way you do a fast is you sacrifice food and you get into the Word of God.
Hallelujah.
So I don't do a fast to reset my body or to do anything like that. However, this fast is going to be that. So I'm going to try to do 30 days, but I'm setting for 2 weeks. So I'm gearing for the whole entire month. But if I only do 2 weeks, that's fine. The longest fast I've done so far is 8 days. Now, I am going to do it for a body reset, but I'm also, like I've always done all fasts, is I sacrifice food for the Word. So I am going to be studying the Word of God, but I am aiming for a month.
Sacrificing all food?
Yeah, I'm not going to, I don't eat any food. And now I do drink, but no food goes in my mouth.
You're right. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
That's how I do all fasts. I don't eat at all, and I change it for studies in the Word of God for whatever I'm searching.
Yeah. 2 weeks. The longest I've done, I think it's been 7 days.
Well, and I'm aiming for a month. If I can do it, I'm aiming for a month.
Wow. And so that also includes the protein shakes though too, right?
Because of my medical things, the only thing I'm going to do is the protein shakes because I have to do that for the healing and water. Those are the only two things that I'm going to be drinking.
Got it. But no actual food,
No food.
nothing that you're going to be deriving a sense of comfort from. Because I mean, let's face it, we eat for comfort, okay? And you're not going to be getting any of that. Like you're going to be deriving your comfort from on high.
My comfort is for the month of January is this right here.
That's powerful.
So, and the only way I'm going to be able to do a month, I'll be honest with you three and everybody that's in this room, the only way I'm even going to be able to do this
Yeah.
is from God. Because I'm a fat guy. I love food. So the only way is God. Changing my mindset is going to change from food to spiritual food. And God's the only way that's going to get me to last a whole entire month.
Yeah.
And then when I come out of that, who knows what it's going to look like.
My mind's going back to something that you said, Susan. You said, I started to feel my mind change. I started to achieve clarity. I started to achieve like this next level of satiation, which I don't even know what that means. Shut up. But you can like come in, you can come in and talk more about that if you'd like, just to kind of see what we've got to look forward to.
Yeah, it's satiation or satiety is being satisfied,
Mm,
and uh I'll bring up the example of a lion or a tiger, right? If they killed something and a bunch of them are eating, a big buffalo or whatever,
yeah.
they will stop when they're full. They don't just eat for entertainment,
Mm,
right? So that is what the carnivore diet has done for me and for many people. People talk about it all the time. The satiety, the satisfaction. It's like I'm done. And then when one is truly adapted to it, and they might even call it fat adapted, is that I only eat when I'm hungry. I'm not eating as a hobby for fun, for entertainment. Like it's just for just like with your car, you don't put gas in your car for fun. You
Sure.
put gas in your car
Yeah.
when it needs it, and you just that's it. That's all there is to it. It's not a big,
Yeah.
okay, so this really cuts into a lot of things about entertainment with food and stuff. So what I do when I'm really on my game and I'm at my best, I will eat before I go to an event. So I'm already in a state of satiation, satiety. And I might nibble, I might have a little cheese or, something or nibble, but I don't want to go there hungry because that'll, I'll start eating everything, right?
Yeah.
But that's what happens with this diet. It's an amazing feeling of not being controlled by food and temptation.
Mm, that's powerful. Yeah.
You know, it was funny because when you said that, when you said you brought in the gas, my mind immediately went to, yeah, gas is expensive.
Mm.
And then, but it's like, and we don't even put, money on food. We just eat it, right? And like,
Gotta
a
eat.
lot of times you eat too fast, and then when you realize you're full, it's already too late. You're stuffed.
Mm.
I'm guilty of
But it
that.
was funny because when you brought the gas into it, my mind immediately went with, well, that's expensive. But food is more expensive than gas, yet we don't even see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so easy to say, well, we have to eat, right? And then there's like this idea of, okay, yeah, we're putting fuel in, not because it's fun, like in our tanks, not because it's fun, but because we have to move from point A to point B. And then
Mhm.
there's this thing like, satiation. Thank you, Susan, for defining that. I didn't know what it was. And satiety, I'm learning right now. It's amazing. So funny you said that because just the other night I remember eating like a bag of popcorn. Got halfway through it. I'm like, I don't even want this. But I finished the bag on the basis of I don't want to waste it.
hmm And that's
Same.
always been one of my problems is I always have to finish everything. Can't leave nothing left over, you know?
Right. Right. And like today I had a very good day of eating. I had some chicken. I did have some arugula with that. I had brisket for breakfast, um, and some eggs. And I'll be honest with you, I feel the feeling of like, what can I eat next? It's like a feeling of I want to be entertained by food. I want to be sort of comforted by food. There's all this stuff that is really not necessary, right? So for me, and I'm not preaching to anybody, but I just, like, what does God think about all that?
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
like when I was a kid, we weren't so obsessed with food, and we weren't even obsessed with water. People weren't walking around with bottles of water everywhere they went, for goodness sakes. So I just really question all this, mouth business, all this mouth business, with in our society today, and look at the obesity that we do have and all the health problems, and there's like way too much eating, you know. And I want to be one, there's a part of me that wants to be one of those people eating all day long, but I will pay the price in my health, and I'll pay the price mostly of course, in my health, but in my mental clarity. It's just going to go right out the window, and I don't want that. I can't be of maximum service to myself and to my brothers and sisters with a foggy head.
Mhm.
It's not happening.
And I love how you said it's a mouth thing, because God says it's a mouth thing too. He says your mouth is a valuable weapon. It brings curses and blessings from the same tongue. So it's very key what we say. And like you said, it's very key, and I just turned green. It's very key what you eat as well. But one of the last questions I have for you, because we got 5 minutes left. Um, on this new diet that you started, did you have a coach for this? Or how, what was the impactful thing to strike this change?
Mm. Interestingly enough, there are a lot of carnivore coaches out there, and I know people that have hired them. But what I did was I just went full out listening to all the top people who are in the carnivore space on YouTube. And that would be Dr. Sean Baker. He's a monster. He's in Oregon. There's a Dr. Ken Berry who is in Tennessee, I believe. Ken Berry. There's Dr. Kiltz who's in New York. And Dr. Chafee, who is in Australia. He's an American, he's a neurosurgeon. Okay, they're all uh, doctors or surgeons. Berry is a GP. Dr. Baker is an orthopedic surgeon. And then there's all these other people who are, and they have all have big podcasts. There's all these other people who are literal carnivore coaches who were in terrible shape physically. Their health completely turned around and they became coaches. So I just was listening to them. And then I did meet a few carnivore people through those um, venues, and we talk on the phone. Like we just say, hey, we'll talk at 8 o'clock in the morning or whenever, and we'll talk about how it's going and the challenges. Yeah. But there's a lot of carnivore coaches out there, that's for sure.
There's a coach for everything, right? Will, did you have any final questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be quick with it because I know we've got like 2.5 minutes left. So earlier, Susan, just a few minutes ago, you said, I don't want to be preaching at anybody, but what does God think about this? And I think that it's an excellent question. I don't want to leave it hanging there. It's something that I experienced a lot of revelation by, for too much of my life, sister and brother here, you know, and for all of you other sisters and brothers who are watching, I associated God with this punitive father with his finger pointed out, just waiting to discipline me, looking for things, in fact, to discipline me about. It's like when in fact God is he is able to discipline us, and we better be disciplined, because if we're not, we're illegitimate. Okay, we should welcome the discipline, but it's not only about the discipline. Like, God wants to be the source of our comfort. He wants to be our heavenly daddy, not our heavenly grandfather checked out somewhere, some senile old man that doesn't really know what's going on. Like, he wants to be our ever-present heavenly daddy, and he wants to be involved in our dietary practices, right? So I just love that you brought that up. Yeah, so
Well,
that's my
I-
final.
I'm just going to say real quick, and this is a heavy thing to leave on. Gluttony is a sin. Gluttony is a very serious matter for anyone of faith. They will not be in the kingdom. And that was a real heavy thing for me to really take. Like, it's not a joke. Drunkards and gluttons and liars, and
Yeah,
they're not going to be in the kingdom.
yeah,
So I was like, oh boy, I have absolutely been indulging in a spirit of gluttony
yeah.
since my husband died. So I want to take care of that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I do want to make one more mention. There is a real nice guy. He's a very technical, does a lot of technical things and stuff. He actually uh, in my church, he's actually the head sound guy, controlling everything in the sound for the church. He's starting a new thing, um, doing Etsy and different things like that, creating stuff. And he actually designs things for you, and we'll be able to put things together on shirts. I didn't even know this was a thing, but on your phone, can be on your back of your phone. He does all this really cool stuff. So his link will be in the description below. Make sure you check him out. It's gonna be really great, and he can market you and share you out there. So he's gonna be a very good source for you. On that note, um, We thank each and every person for coming. It has been a great discussion here with Susan. And I was actually thinking we were going to go one way. We went a completely different way and in a different way as well. So, again, with no script, this is the real talk at the round table, live, unscripted. You never know where it's going to go. So, until next time, we look forward to seeing each and every person here next time.
Thank you, David. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Susan.